In honor of our first and eighth principals, this month's half-plate recipient is the Portland Public High School's Multilingual and Multicultural Center. The center offers programs and services for families and students who are new to the United States, including extended language learning, community building events, family translation services, parent orientations, and college readiness programs. The Multilingual and Multicultural Center welcomes volunteer tutors for English language learners in grades 9 through 12. For those present in our sanctuary who are not passing the plate this fall, instead we encourage you to contribute your weekly offering in the envelopes marked offering in your order of worship. There are pens in your pews should you need one. If you cannot find an envelope or a pen, just raise your hand and the ushers will bring one to you. We'll collect these envelopes following the conclusion of our service. Please leave them on your pew seat. For those tuning in online, you're invited to make your offering using the Donate button in the order of worship. By clicking on that link, you'll be taken to Give Butter, a virtual giving site that accepts a card number, PayPal, and Venmo accounts. You may also give your offering by dropping a check in the mail or using your bank's free bill pay feature. This morning's offering has now been requested and will be greatly received, and we thank you. Annie Vinicota will play Fountain of Water for us as we give our offering.
Thank you so much, Annie. I literally texted her mom last night at like 6 o'clock, being like, can Annie play some music tomorrow? And she did. Thank you. Oh, it's ironic that Sam is not here today because my sermon, my homily, whatever it is it's about a song. So, go figure. And it's that song. Do you guys know this song? It goes, first there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is... Do you know that song? Yeah, I love that song. I love that song. Great song. Donovan, 1967, been stuck in my head for months. He also did that tune, They Call Me Mellow Yellow. Yeah, oh, I'm getting the nods. Yeah, peak hippie. Maybe sometime we can have a Donovan sing-along together. That'd be fun. We can have guitars and clapping hands and tambourines. Definitely these would be great. So that song, first there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is called There Is a Mountain. And it's likely based on this old Zen teaching that goes something like, in the beginning, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. Later on, mountains are not mountains and rivers are not rivers. And still later, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. It's a koan, one of those mental puzzles in Zen Buddhism that's meant to disorient and confuse your mind so that you're forced to see things suddenly in a different way and then maybe suddenly get enlightened and live out your days in blissful equanimity. Yes. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. If Donovan can figure this koan out, I love it when Arwen yells no as I'm preaching. If Donovan can figure that koan out, I think we can too. And if anyone gets enlightened today, I want to hear about it at coffee hour, so do find me. So whenever I hear that koan, I want to hear it as a kind of you don't know what you've got till it's gone teaching. A message about impermanence and learning to appreciate what we have in any given present moment because we will, one way or another, lose it. If we can set our minds in such a way, then we'll be okay with the impermanence of all things. We'll be okay with change. In every moment, we'll be able to let things go and appreciate what's present instead. There is a mountain, there is no mountain, then there is. And sure, that interpretation works. Anyone enlightened? No? Okay, well, much to my chagrin, I am not enlightened yet either, but I can't stop mulling over a slightly different interpretation of this koan/Donovan song. The verses started running on replay in my mind this summer when I was actually watching a real-life mountain appear and disappear, and then appear again. Alexis and I were hiking in the White Mountains on our favorite trail, the Crawford Path. Anyone ever hiked the Crawford Path before? Yeah, it's a nice path. It's a trail understood to be the oldest continually maintained hiking path in America, which of course is a fact based on the history of white settler colonialists, but nonetheless, the Crawford Path is at least a couple hundred years old and is a fantastic ridgeline trail that summits several of the highest peaks in the Whites before finally ending up at the top of Mount Washington. Alexis and I have hiked long and short portions of the Crawford Path many times, but never once have we made it to Mount Washington, partially because by the time we get close to Washington, we're tired and we're running out of snacks, and partially because to get to Washington on the Crawford Path, you have to pass the Lake of the Clouds. And the Lake of the Clouds is exactly what it sounds like. An alpine lake, probably 4,500 feet above sea level, that pretty much always is in a thick cloud. No matter how beautifully clear, like this day, beautifully clear the blue sky is all around you in all other directions, as soon as you start approaching that lake, it is very likely that everything will just disappear in a fog. Not just Washington, everything. The trail behind you, from where you just came, the trail ahead of you, where you're trying to go, and the terrain just right around you. I'm sure those of you who like to go out on a sail on the water have experienced a dense, disorienting fog like this from time to time, too. Hopefully not too often out on the water. And as anyone who has hiked Washington, or like me, hiked around Washington knows, despite the dense and seemingly stagnant fog that often encircles that giant mountain, the closer you get to that peak, the stronger the wind starts blowing. So on those days when the Lake of the Clouds is really showing off its cloud-making skills, every few minutes a gust of wind will pick up and blow all the fog away. And for a few seconds, you'll get a crystal clear vista of Mount Washington and the presidentials before the fog rises again. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is, then there isn't, then there is again, then there isn't. Oh wait, there it is again. No, gone. Al and I try to go out to the Whites any chance we can get. We're out there all the time this summer. So this scene of the disappearing and reappearing mountains made a fairly regular appearance in our lives. It's no wonder that Donovan song has been playing on repeat for months in my head, as has that koan that inspired it. In the beginning, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. Later on, mountains are not mountains and rivers are not rivers. And still later, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. Turning these verses over in my mind on those long, tired, snackless hikes back down the trail, I began to understand that song and koan not as a teaching about what is lost and impermanent in our lives, but rather about what is, what remains, and what is continually added to in our lives that allows us to comprehend a fuller, richer, more expansive picture of life. The fog and the mountain aren't two separate things. The fog comes with the mountain comes with the fog. It's part of the deal. And you see the mountain differently when you also see the fog. Just like you see what you have differently when you have lost something. Just like you see your body differently as it ages, your wisdom differently as you experience more life. Just like you see the culture at work around you differently when you learn about various systems of oppression. Just like you see the sanctuary differently when you weren't allowed in it for a year and a half. Just like you see our worship services differently when you have a magic wand. Friends, a couple of weeks ago in my channel's message to you, I shared the words of a local minister whose church, like ours, was planning to hold in-person worship again this fall. She explained that the group of folks in charge of this process at her church weren't called the reopening team, but rather the opening team. Because, well, they weren't reopening to what once was. They were opening to what is. So true, right? We have not reopened this fall. We have opened. It's different now than it once was. In so many expanding, contracting, clear, and foggy ways. We didn't have a mountain, not have a mountain, and then go back and have that exact same mountain with our exact same notion of that mountain again. No, it's a little different now. We see it differently here now. We have a different understanding of what this is and what this means to us. A different understanding of what's possible. We have the mountain and the fog now. This, I think, this understanding is what it means to embrace possibility. To embrace the possibility of a clear vista of the mountain, and to embrace the possibility of a dense fog. To embrace both at once. And friends, this isn't anything special. This isn't like a new thing in our lives, right? This is a moment-to-moment experience of certainty, uncertainty, of knowing and not knowing. This is kind of how we live, right? When we wake up in the morning, we don't know what's going to happen. We know some things, but we don't really know. It's just that this time, this day and age, blesses us and curses us with an exceptionally perceptible degree of uncertainty and certainty at once. How important then, in these clear and foggy times, to ask ourselves two big questions. Put that away. Question number one: what do we know to be true? And question number two: what is most important now? For me, what I know to be true is that we're all interconnected, just like the fog and the mountain. In fact, in Buddhism, it's taught that seeing things as separate from one another, as acting independently from one another, is a form of suffering. Because as soon as we see things as set apart from each other, we start to see them as set against each other. And we judge them and treat them differently, AKA loving the mountain and hating the fog. It's hard to find peace in that set apart place. Hard to take a nice hike on the Crawford Path if you don't like fog. What's most important right now? The kind of people we are. That we are kind people. That we do not celebrate cruelty. That's important right now. The thing I like the most about that Donovan song is the number of times he sings the chorus. He sings it over and over and over again, like a mantra. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. Over and over and over again. Because it's not a stagnant teaching. It doesn't just stop, and there you have it. The mountain. End of story. Keeps going. It's never ending. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. First there is a mountain, then there is the mountain, then there is the... On and on and on. The mountain keeps changing, keeps changing, keeps changing. We see things differently and more and more. This is the interconnection of all things. The way we are all changing all the time with one another. Because of one another. And this is our free and responsible search for truth and meaning, riding that wave, riding that breeze, to play with these never-ending changes, to explore them, to find meaning in them, and keep changing, learning, seeing the mountain of our lives, of our love, of our faith, of our beings anew. This is our faith. This is the call of our faith. To not stop. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain. And right now, here it is. Let it be so. As we come to the closing of our service, my friends, I want to invite everyone on Zoom to feel warmly welcome to join us for coffee hour outside, BYO snacks and coffee for the time being. And once we say our unison benediction together, I'll depart the sanctuary with Andrew. And we'll gather outside. Maybe the first rows can leave and we'll go on that way. We can gather outside and sing a little song together. Before we do, won't you join me in a time of prayer? May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all experience profound joy and the causes of profound joy. May we be aware of our deep connections to one another. May we be kind as those connections keep changing. Won't you join me in the words of our unison benediction, my friends? For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. And for those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. See you outside for Woyaya.